Hey, how you doing? Tony Wasinski, official editor of the podcast. Frankie Berger said he's not here, but he sent his nephew, David. David, good to see you.
Hey, it's good to be here, Frankie. It's been a minute. Tony, I miss you dearly. It's not goodbye. It's see you later, though. We'll catch you soon. We'll catch you next week on the podcast ad read.
Do you know what your uncle's doing right now? Why is he so busy?
I think I heard he hit it big in the lottery or something. I mean, he stopped talking to me. Something that I heard about. I'm not like on his playing field, or he's too good for me. He doesn't associate with the plebeians anymore, something like that. I don't know what that's all about, but last I saw him, he was driving off in a Tesla or some shit, flipping the bird at everybody in the neighborhood, and I didn't understand it, but I hope he can settle down over a nice, great tasting, less filling Miller Lite.
I heard a rumor about the Tesla, and the nice thing is the trunk storage space. You get so much great tasting, less filling in there when you're going to the grocery store and you're loading up, especially if you're just trying to have, one of those moments with the boys. You just sit around and say, hey, man, this is the right call to load up on Miller Lite. I know a Tesla, it packed it up real nice. I know your Uncle Frankie, he's very particular about the storage in his Tesla, how much Miller Lite he can store in there, and that's because it's a great tasting, less filling beer. It's an ideal winter setting. I'm telling you, sitting around with the boys, passing time, maybe the power just went out. You want to have a couple cold ones around a fire pit, watching football, something warm and cozy. I recommend a great tasting, less filling Miller Lite, made from simple ingredients.
It's made from simple ingredients for simple people like you and me. Eddie, he's maybe a little too, Frankie might be a little too good for that these days, but that's fine. For me, Miller Lite's the perfect beer. That malted barley gives it the rich, balanced toffee note. I love a good toffee note. You know how I always talk about those toffee notes and that golden color. I mean, I wish I could paint my house in that golden color.
Aunt Shirley sure loves her toffee. You love it too, and that's why Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/redline to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. It's Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Chicago sports fans. This is White Sox Dave.
And Barstool Carl.
And it's just a throwback episode
and this
today.
Is Redline Radio.
And this is Redline Radio and All Gas, No Breaks, Chicago Sport Podcast, brought to you by Miller Lite and Barstool Sports Chicago. Sorry I jumped the gun there.
No, it's fine. I like when you take control. I think people would
feel
say
your
otherwise.
look.
No, but I welcome it. I welcome it. We have a huge show this week. I think Eddie's going to be jumping on very shortly. We've got Chris Emma with us, Bears Insider. He was just up at Hallis Hall for the introductory press conference. He's got some good takes and had been following the Bears story closely. We'll get some insight from him. MLB lockout update that we had promised. And interesting enough, Aaron Jones, standout running back for the Green Bay Packers. I repeat, Aaron Jones, standout running back from the Green Bay Packers, will be joining the show for an exclusive interview by me and White Sox Dave towards the end a little bit. But first, I would like to get to the weekend because we said Chief is in Las Vegas for a hockey tournament with the Chicklets guys or the Barstool Hockey. Eddie's out with the horse racing and the gambling and the Pegasus stuff. And I just there was a crazy story. I mean, Club Ed is back.
I don't even want to say it's Club Ed. This is just bougie-ass, disgustingly obnoxious rich Ed or something.
And here he is on Zoom, fresh out of the Tesla in the Miami club scene, Barstool Eddie, man.
Are you kidding me, Dave?
I'm not kidding you. What do you mean? You were fucking making it rain with a stack of hundos on a stripper's asshole.
I feel sorry for you that you still see these situations and you don't feel like, oh, maybe it was a do. Do you even know how it happened?
It doesn't matter. I saw what I saw. I saw you making it rain on a stripper's asshole with $100 bills, a stack of them. It wasn't just one or two flicks. You could have gone on for 10 straight minutes with those flicks.
It was $20.
It was $20,000 from what it looked like, and that's all I need to know to drive a narrative into the ground. You are no longer for the common man, by the common man, and quite frankly, you disgust me. And that doesn't even get into how you are the horniest pervert on the show officially.
Wait. Let's talk about that. Scout Seats Dave is going to tell me that.
Scout Seats
Mr.
Dave?
Scout Seats is going to tell me.
A scout ticket's like $100, and if I get invited,
but you get them for free. You always brag about how you had scout seats.
I brag about it.
Well,
On
you
what
talk
planet
about
do I
it.
brag about it? A scout seat might be the easiest premium ticket in all of sports to
Don't
get.
let him distract
Any
you.
asshole can get a scout seat. Not every asshole can buy a Tesla. Not every asshole can make it rain on a
What do
stripper's
you mean?
asshole in
You
a
can
Miami
buy it-
strip
wait.
club.
Did you just buy a condo?
I did not.
Bad timing,
what-
Ed.
bad-
They had the investigation.
We don't want to. We don't
Oh,
want
it
to bring
got
that up.
pulled from
Not. I know you're trying to get
Or
like,
inspection, not the investigation.
The inspection turned up a fuck ton of water damage, so I'm back to square one on the home buying process. And that is a quick note to all of the potential home buyers out there. Go through the inspection process, spend the $500, do it, because you will get fucked if you don't. But back to you. I'm buying a house. Everybody buys a house eventually, whatever. Who cares? I'm doing it within my financial means.
But I don't want a house right now. I just chose to go the car first. Is that fine? That's not okay?
That isn't okay. You're walking around with white seats, $60,000 pimped out SUV that drives itself. This is not
what do you mean
the
pimped out?
mission statement of Barstool Chicago. We are by the common man for the common man, and you have gone Hollywood on us.
Do you
You might
de-
as well move to the Hollywood Hills, to Malibu.
Do you deny making it rain this weekend?
Well, the video is posted. I don't care. What, a single guy can't throw a couple dollars on a stripper's ass? And so it's wrong to throw some Georges on a fucking girl's ass? That's wrong, Dave? You're not for that?
I mean, I do what you want to do, but if you try to bring up anything Dave's horny or anything, I haven't been to a strip club in 8-9
What do you
years
mean?
now.
But answer the
Dave,
question
that's what you
is
do
making it
there.
rain above or below you?
That's way above me. Now that I have my own bills and like my own life where I can't afford to just, throw $100 bills at strippers' assholes.
Listen, it's not my fault that I'm a bozo who loses his debit card all the time. That's what I'm dealing with here. It's not
Because
it's
I'm
not
a
my
common
fault.
man. I like to sit at dive bars, drink way too much alcohol, and forget my debit
How
card
much of an
bill.
idiot is this guy? Brandon
This
Walker.
guy's a fucking idiot. The guy, don't let him fucking talk to you like this. This guy is a fucking idiot.
Get him off my
This guy's
podcast
a fucking idiot.
right
Look at
fucking
you,
now.
Fucking midget. You fucking midget talking about common man. Ain't nothing
I
common
would
about you,
knock
ugly fuck.
Brandon Walker out into tomorrow if I wanted to. Back to Ed. He's
Why do you
trying.
talk like that?
Ed's,
Why do
Ed's,
you fucking? Hey, why do you fucking talk like that? Why do you do that?
get off my podcast. Back to Ed. I don't
All right.
even know if the
Well, people
great
listen to what-
podcasting. I don't even know if anybody can hear Brandon Walker right now. But Ed, do we need to have an intervention?
Yeah, I think he is. Do we need to have an intervention? There's nothing to I got invited to a club and I went. What do you wouldn't have gone?
I
wouldn't
would
have
have to
gone?
really think about it.
Was it your own money that you
You're
sprayed?
fucking full of shit. What?
Was it your own money
Huh?
that you sprayed?
It was not. Would you like to hear the story, Carl?
Yes, please.
I reserve the
So-
right to change or keep my opinion after this story.
So here's the story.
Okay.
I've never been to a place like that before. It was not a strip club. It's a bar. It's a club that has a strippers in it. Okay. That's
So it's a strip
and
club.
I know that's. Wait, what did you say?
So it's a strip club.
No, it's not. It's called 11 in Miami. It's like a fucking huge deal. I don't know. I have my first time there. Like I said. Okay.
Like a la
And-
carte strippers, like they'll bring over a menu and be like, "Do you want to bring a couple strippers to the table with the bottle service?"
It's like, from what I understand, the upstairs is, and then the downstairs is not. But then they're all walking around, and our section was like a no stripper. Like we didn't want them by us, but our table was next to a bunch of guys who were Bitcoin guys. Okay, and with the Bitcoin guys was Dave's friend, who he always likes to refer to when something bad happens to him. His name is Paul Gozinski, Gaz. Okay, what do you think Gaz did, Dave? Gaz took a big wad, he split it in half. He put half of the wad in the stripper's chest, and he put the other half in my chest. So naturally, she came up to me, and I had to do something with the money at that point. And that's what you saw in that video.
So you thought, oh, I should make it rain on this stripper's asshole.
Well,
Instead
you
of
want me to put it in
being
my pocket?
like a
That's
nice-
what you would have done. You would have put it in your pocket and took it home.
No, I would have been more chivalrous about it. Is that how you pronounce it?
Chivalrous?
Chivalrous?
Close, yeah.
How do you say it?
Are you
Chivalrous.
telling like?
I would have been more chivalrous. I would have been like, hey, ma'am,
Don't deflect, Dave.
do you want this dollar bill, this $100 bill in your asshole or not? I would have asked her first instead of just
Are you-
like fucking doing it. Because I'm a
women how
man
to
of
act.
gumption and integrity, Ed.
Yeah, but Eddie's a man of the industry. He used to work in strip clubs. He understands a little bit
Yeah.
about it.
So how much money did she sucker out of you for waving her ass cheeks in your face?
I have no idea. Like I said, the wad was handed to me, and I don't know how much was in it. To be quite honest, it was probably like $40 if I had to guess.
So if I'm hearing this right, it sounds like Eddie's saying like it's pretty normal behavior what he did, and furthermore, you can't come over the top and say that he's hornier than you are. Like I don't think you established that.
Okay, well, it's very clear that he's horny. He's
How?
chilling in strip clubs. Carl, as you kind of have become the mediator in this situation right now, have you ever flown on a private jet?
Not yet, but I'm supposed to soon.
Have I ever flown on a private jet?
No.
Ed, have you ever
Oh.
flown on a private jet?
Time out. And wait, Dave, when you came here for New Year's Eve, did you want to stay a couple days extra because you wanted to go on Dave's plane? Is that true or
I
false?
said I would fly back the next day.
But it's still you
2
were gonna
days, I
delay
said
your
no.
trip. You were going to delay your trip because you want to hop on the private
Just
jet.
one day though. Just one day.
But it's still a fact.
But it was only
Still a
because he was coming out here.
This is we all have our non-common man moments in that office. Carl, you agree?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You've been courtside, like you've had a couple courtside moments. Like,
yeah.
what are we talking about here? White Sox Dave is like,
name mine.
I mean, Dave.
come on.
Come on. What do you mean? Name them.
Oh, do you think scout seats are that much, or just behind home plate is that much to be dismissed at, Carl? Do you think so? Like
For a
you did?
White Sox game, especially when you and I went the first time
I
with
mean,
the hot dog.
You get some preferential treatment around town.
Nah, I wouldn't say preferential treatment. Like,
What about Bears tickets to a playoff game, Dave?
I paid for those.
Did he?
Yeah.
I
paid
mean,
for those.
I feel like if he did, I don't know. I don't want
I
to
paid for
dispute
that.
Eddie, but I don't know if he paid for those. Did you pay for those?
I paid for, they pay for them too. And every time I get player seats,
No,
which
you're going to
is-
say you leave them a Venmo for the taxes.
and I pay overwards. If they leave me a set of 4, I'm paying them. I send them $100 to $150 depending on where the seats are. Every single time. It doesn't matter if it's fucking someone who's on their third contract and is worth $100 million.
No,
Yeah,
what
work
about
too,
this,
Dave.
Ed? What
Like-
about this? White Sox Dave has dual residency. He's got a place in Arizona. He's got, he's this a
Great point.
well traveled.
What do you mean?
Great point. You lived in Arizona for 3 months, so that means you paid 2 rents, you asshole.
Two rents? 2 rents?
Yeah.
I paid $1,000 to live out there for 2 months. That's not
Still
2
2
rents.
rents, you dodo brain.
That
Still 2
was
rents.
my previous job when I was making more money than I was making here. I was making a lot of fucking money out there. I paid for it. It was all on my. It's not like I was sent out there because I'm
And I
some big
paid
shot.
for my car. What's your point?
What about the rumors that Dave's a Northwestern booster?
They get $300 for me for a season ticket every year, and that's that. They asked me to be a booster. I would love to be some fucking like oil money rich tycoon that just gives Northwestern all this money where they cheat and buy players with. But I can't because I'm a common man. And Ed, we'll have a private conversation when you get back to discuss your transgressions because it's a slippery slope. I mean, private jets and strippers, assholes, and Teslas. What's next? What is next?
Like I said to everyone here, too. It's that, everyone in this office.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Everyone in the
amount-
office.
The amount that these people are paying for rent out here, they could all have it if they were nice Midwestern people. So that's not my.
Ooh, sounds like somebody's on a little recruiting tour out there.
That's true though, right? These guys are paying $2,000 for rent. I pay $900. Hey, boom, move here. You get a Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of is a good recruiting pitch.
You know what, Ed? I will give you a point for that one. I will give you a point for that one.
A good recruiting pitch. All right. Any final words, Brandon?
He's a fucking idiot.
I mean,
Like I don't want him on. Like he wasn't invited on the show by me.
He's doing it in my fucking studio. You this is the Brandon Walker show. I'm giving him a favor.
You're not giving anybody here a favor. In fact, we're gonna have a fucking plunge in listeners because they're gonna see Brandon fucking Walker was on the show. I might have to hide that from the title description now.
we'll see you soon, Ed. Everything good in Miami? Everything good on the trips?
Everything's great. Excited to see you guys.
Are you
Even
excited
Dave.
for the Super Bowl you're about to fly out to on a PJ?
Jesus, Dave.
I'm not. That's false. See, that's false.
Well, you're going to Los Angeles on a PJ. Is that correct?
For work. If you had to go for work, would you not go?
I
went to dinner with my boss, and he wanted to go to a bar after. The bar had strippers in it. It's not my fault.
You could have.
Oh, you know what? It is the grin.
He's playing the pity card.
That's the grin. It doesn't.
He's playing the pity card.
It's crazy.
And like I said,
Thanks,
it was good
see
seeing
it.
you. Even though we did have to hash a few things out, I can't wait to see you again. We will be having this conversation behind closed doors so we can get you right, because this ain't it. This is hurting the brand, Ed. It's hurting the brand.
All right, Dave. You guys have a nice show.
Thanks, Ed. We'll talk.
Do you got anything to say to Aaron Jones? I was about to say Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones.
Fuck the Packers.
You got it.
Perfect. We'll let him know. Thanks, Ed. It's good seeing you.
See you, bud. I hope you got what you wanted there from Eddie.
I wanted an admission of guilt. He didn't come close to it.
I think this is an interesting
His
saga.
ego's like just fucking gone off the rails.
It's not just you versus Eddie. It's not like his ego versus. It's like you keeping his horniness in check is something I'm interested in.
I will be doing that.
Like
for,
an Eddie, horny meter, according to White Sox Dave.
For instance, if Emily Ratajkowski comes up in conversation, I say she's got great tits. I'm just saying what everybody's thinking. That's not me being overly horny. That's me saying literally what everybody on the planet knows and thinks. I don't see how me verbalizing it makes me extra horny or more horny than anybody else. Mm-hmm. It's just how it is. Like Ed, I'm not going to strip clubs. I'm not making it rain on strippers' assholes.
And that's a choice for morality purposes.
Yes, that is a choice. Okay. I could do that every weekend if I wanted to.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. White Sox State morality guy. We have a special guest we're going to bring in here now. Chris Emma, who's been a longtime friend of Redline Radio, has been on a bunch of times. And Chris Emma is the insider for 670 The Score for the Bears. He follows the Bears as closely as anybody I know. He was in Hallis Hall for the press conference, has been following, covering, had a great article out this week about the process. So let's get to Chris Emma.
Whoosh.
All right, we are now joined by Bears insider Chris Emma. But before we get to the Bears, there's a very local Chicago thing I want to talk about too, and that's JP Graziano.
What about JP Graziano?
JP Graziano is huge news, guys. The spices at TasteRealChicago.com, they're stocked. They're ready to fucking ship. These are the Jardiniere spices. These are the spices. They taste just like the Jardiniere, the peppers, the move, in mild and hot form. Jim, this is like a new-to-market product, a Jardiniere spice, TasteRealChicago.com. These things are ready to ship all over the country. Get a taste of Chicago in your kitchen tomorrow. It's so easy.
It is. So I didn't even know why he put these, or long story short, I'll say this. I saw the spices in our office a couple weeks back, maybe a month back. And this is prior to him launching them on the website and in store and everything. And so I took them home, obviously, Jardiniere seasoning, JP Graziano's name on it, sold. That's all I need. I seasoned up a fucking porterhouse steak with it that I got at the local butcher shop. Outstanding.
Unbelievable.
Outstanding.
Better than any steak spice or whatever you're making. They say, hey, put a little paprika with this and mix with the salt and the ground pepper. No, just get the spices from Jim. I swear to God.
And I like heat, even with a really good, expensive steak. I like a little heat, and you get that ground up jalapeno, whatever it is. I don't know if it's jalapeno, but you get that ground up heat in it, and outstanding.
Amen. It's a perfect complement with the beef kit. It's a perfect complement with all the peppers that Jim's selling at TasteRealChicago.com. You guys know how important this relationship is with us. The spices, this is something we've been working on together. We're very excited to bring it to market. So obviously go check it out, TasteRealChicago.com. And of course, guys, it's located at 901 West Randolph. They take orders by walk-up. Obviously, the sandwiches, we haven't even said a word about the sandwiches. He was just ranked the 15th best sandwich in the country. Obviously, whoever put the list together hasn't had the first, just doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
it's number one.
It's still high praise, but yeah, it's the best in the country.
It's so good that I get offended when it's on a national ranking and it's not number one. So go check them out. They're still using modified days and hours of operation since March. That's Monday to Saturday, 11 to 4 p.m. For Jardiniere and Muffaletta, the website to purchase those is TasteRealChicago.com, and they ship all over the country. Pickled peppers, known as a Chicago condiment. Great on so many foods like sandwiches, burgers, beefs, dogs, and pizza. Taste Real Chicago. Visit JP Graziano today. Love those guys. Please. Okay. From one very Chicago thing back to the Chicago Bears, we are joined by Chris Emma, like I said, a good friend of Redline Radio. And just for credibility purposes, Chris, what's your actual title or what's your job?
State your full name.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, guys. 670 The Score reporter. You can add whatever else you want onto it.
Okay, so you're every day you just follow the Bears, you cover the Bears, you're the beat guy?
Yeah, I mean, I usually, I do baseball as well, Cubs and
Depending on the
Sox
season,
and-
for sure.
But yeah, mostly Bears. So yeah, I was up at Hallis yesterday, and that was my third introduction of a head coach and general manager. Second
Which
general
is
manager.
disgusting
Third
in and of
head coach.
itself.
Second GM,
what have you been
third
doing
head
this for?
coach.
So going back, and Chris and I laugh about this all the time. Chris, you're what, 32?
31.
31 now. So I have known Chris since he was writing for the Northwestern Scout.com. And I thought he was like some dude in his 30s back then. And fast forward a few years, we become friends and everything. How long have you been with the Score now?
7 years, 7 Bears seasons as well.
And that's 3 coaches and GMs in those years.
We're kind of joking. The only time I've ever been in that auditorium at Hallis Hall is when they're introducing somebody new.
It's
Just there were actually it was a little
up.
dusty on some of those tables. I swear to God. I mean, it's been 4 years for me. It's kind of like an election cycle, really. You just keep on going. You meet the new guy. You jump back into that auditorium. Maybe they got it right. We'll see. I was impressed by Ryan Poles. I'm curious on the head coach, on Matt Eberflus, but it's hard to lose the press conference. So I'll say that. I thought they came across well.
Okay, so
That is true.
At what point, like timeline, when the Bears season, did you really start picking up with like the coaching and the GM?
In terms of when Nagy and Pace were going to be gone,
Mm-hmm.
it became more clear with Nagy. I think by November is after that Steelers game where it was kind of they had to have that. You're going into the bye, a really tough stretch. When they lost that in that heartbreaking fashion, you knew that was kind of going to be the end. It was really unclear, I swear to God, up until that Monday with Pace, Black Monday, when they made the decision. And the Nagy news came first from Adam Schefter. And then you're still wondering, is Pace going to be back? Because he had done so well to endear himself to the McCaskey family and to earn their belief. It's what got him the job over Chris Ballard in 2015 when nobody thought Pace was going to be the guy they would hire. He impressed them and won them over, and he continued to do that for 7 years. And obviously, coming off 18, he had all the job security in the world, but you probably should have fired him after the 20 season, and he earned their trust for another year. So I wasn't expecting it. I was really kind of 50-50 up until they made that move.
So then from our perspective, we always say, and when I say our perspective, like we're still outsiders, right? Like we're not up at Hallis Hall, we're not credentialed, and just the impression that we get is that it's George and it's Ted, and those are just the 2 key decision makers. Is there any like sense when you're around the building or around the team that like there's leaks getting out, or were they pretty tight-lipped about what was going on?
There are leaks getting out, but oftentimes they're not the right ones. Like it's ultimately George McCaskey's decision to hire Ryan Poles, and he has to sign off on that along with the search committee. He had Bill Polian advising him. He had Tanisha Wade, Lamar Soup Campbell, and of course Ted Phillips alongside. But it was McCaskey's decision, and that's why there was a lot of kind of misinformation for the last several months. Was because George stays tight-lipped on this stuff. He doesn't let things really leak out too much.
And what, from your estimation, is so attractive about Ryan Poles?
I was really impressed by his background for 13 years with the Chiefs. And I become skeptical when a guy's been through one organization and only one organization. But consider the background of what he went through in that. He came up with Scott Pioli, who was kind of a new age analytics type guy. Brought them to a wild card berth the second season. They bottomed out at 2-14. They go to John Dorsey, more old school type scout, like right. I mean, he came up with the Packers, spent a year with the Seahawks, back to the Packers. That was his way of doing it. And as Ryan Poles put it, he learned from Scott Dorsey or from John Dorsey about how you grind tape, what you do to truly understand evaluations. Dorsey's gone after the 17 draft where they bring in Mahomes. Brett Veach is a big part of that. Veach gets the promotion. Veach has a different way of doing it. Younger guy, Matt Nagy's old roommate actually, but he's got a different approach in terms of talent evaluation, how he sees things, and the thoroughness that he goes through in evaluating players. And as Poles put it, he learned how to sustain a roster once you get it to that level of you're on top, how to keep it on top. Obviously, Mahomes is a big part of that. Like, he's the part of it, but you have to build that roster around a $503 million contract for year after year after year. That's what Veach has done really well. So I like the fact that Poles came up and learned from 3 very different GMs and backgrounds. He learned everything from these 3 guys in particular and how they approach their day-to-day business.
So he can take that blend and kind of, formulate his own process. I like that. So it's, though you said that he's only been with one organization since his playing days have been over, it isn't quite cut and dry like that.
Yeah, and consider his predecessor, Ryan Pace. He came up with one organization as well, but it was one philosophy. It was Mickey Loomis, Sean Payton, Drew Brees.
Right, yeah.
That's how the missteps happen in Chicago. That 17 draft, I know everybody hates to rehash it, but he was looking for his Drew Brees. And on the other side in Kansas City, they were looking to be open-minded with Ryan Poles in that front office in terms of what can we do to get the best quarterback for us and who is that guy. There's this perception that's totally false that they just kind of lucked into Mahomes. They were on Mahomes for 2 years before that 17 draft. Like before he really even jumped into a prominent role, they loved his arm talent. They saw the raw potential, and they knew they had the head coach in Andy Reid who could develop him. That's why they made that trade up from, what was it, pick 30 or 31 to pick 10? Like they had that giant leap of faith in him. And that's what a good organization does. Ryan Poles was a part of that, where Ryan Pace was, on the other hand, thinking about his Saints days. And compound that with Adam Shaheen. That was his Jimmy Graham. Big failure. How many decisions he made trying to replicate what the Saints did during his time. And they won a Super Bowl there, but it was one singular line of thinking. I like the fact that Ryan Poles comes from a diverse background in terms of 3 different regimes, 3 different philosophies, and different ways to do it.
What about the people who say Chicago's a tough place for someone to become a GM for the first time? And we just saw it with Ryan Pace. And as somebody, you're on the side that kind of can make it tough, asking questions and creating, playing into the sports media culture here.
Yeah.
Do you buy into that or no?
Ryan Poles is a communications major at Boston College, and you can tell he sounded sharp. He sounded nervous at first when he stepped up to that dais yesterday at Hallis Hall, but I got to sit down with him. I got to sit down with Matt Eberflus. You could sense how sharp and his ability to convey confidence. And
because I was actually in the camp where you're saying, like, he did sound a little nervous up front, where I was kind of like, come on, like but it is a big moment, I suppose.
yeah,
obviously.
and I think he's going to be more present. The joke, that picture of Pace where he's hiding behind the door is, I think it was Trubisky or Nagy, whoever was talking. I think Poles is going to be a lot more present. I think he's going to really take ownership, and it's probably something George McCaskey wants. Like, there's that perception that Ted Phillips is running the show. Ted Phillips is not. Like, they push him aside even further. This is Ryan Poles' football operations. I think one of Ryan Pace's biggest mistakes was that he was hiding, that he left the head coach to really kind of take the face of that organization, whether it was John Fox or then Matt Nagy. They needed somebody who's really that proven showcase leader of the organization. And I think that's going to be Ryan Poles.
What about this guy from the Eagles? I kind of get the sense that, and let me backtrack for a second. I kind of get the sense that the Bears' unwillingness to name like a head of football operations and a president, right? Just how the Cubs did with Theo Epstein, where he was like the head of everything, and then they brought in Jed to be the GM. It almost seems like the Bears are closed to that, so they hire Ryan Poles as a GM, but now Ryan Poles is smart enough to come in and be like, yeah, I'm actually going to treat myself like the president. Now I'm going to go hire someone that I'll treat as my GM. It seems like he's kind of putting himself one level up and getting some really fucking talented people around him, whether it's Getsy, to run the offense, all the way to, like I'm saying, this guy from the Eagles. It seems
Ian Cunningham.
Yeah, people were going nuts when the Bears got him.
And that was something he took to the McCaskies and to the search committee when he was interviewed that second time. He had a chance to hop on that flight to Minneapolis and go interview there and probably not leave. I think he would have been hired as the Vikings GM if he left Chicago. That was one of the things which he stipulated. He wanted an assistant GM. And Ryan Pace had his right-hand man, and Josh Lucas, Champ Kelly were right there for him. Nobody had that clear number 2 title, that assistant GM role. So yeah, it kind of puts him in a greater position of authority. I like that hire too. That's another person who's won a Super Bowl with what was a successful organization in Philly. I know they've kind of been up and down since then, but they built around Carson Wentz's rookie contract a really talented roster in Philly. So that's a great pickup for them as well.
Now, what about Eberflus? Because I actually had a little bit different sense of before you came in here, where I was like, well, I really like the cut of Eberflus's jib, and I want to be sold on Poles. You just sold the shit out of me on Poles. So, like, can you talk me off the ledge? Well, not talk me off the ledge with Eberflus, but am I crazy for liking him as much as I do?
I'll say this. I like his defensive philosophy, and he's created a buy-in, whether it's Dallas or Indy or even back to his time at Mizzou, where he loves that cover too. He runs it very similar to what Lovey did during his time.
Nice and simple.
Yeah, big emphasis on taking the ball away. He's got a great defensive philosophy that should work. It's going to make Roquan Smith even better, and he's already a superstar. Like, that's going to be huge for Roquan Smith. I don't put too much concern into the idea that they're shifting from 3-4 to 4-3. Khalil Mack's going to be fine once you get him back healthy. Robert Quinn's going to be fine. They both put their hand in the dirt plenty of times. There's no concerns there. I like what he's doing defensive philosophy-wise. I think that's going to be really strong for the Bears. And for a defense that looks like it's kind of bottoming out in terms of age and needing some turnover, I think it's going to be really good for them. So I'll say that to start. I'm concerned about his ability to build a culture. And that's what they hired him to do. That's what they've touted for him. I get concerned about a guy who seems a little rah-rah. And I get to sit down with him privately where he was not as rah-rah. He's more calm, mellow. That eased my concerns a little bit. But if you're going to hire a culture builder coach who happens to be a first-time coach, you better be damn sure. And I would have preferred the offensive route. Brian Dable was the guy I would have hired because I love the way he builds an offense for a quarterback and around a quarterback, most importantly. I think they got a good coach in Matt Eberflus. I'm still skeptical because you got to create that buy-in, and it's not as easy when you're that head man in charge. Like Frank Reich built that culture, not Matt Eberflus. He got that buy-in defensively, but it's different when you step into this role and leading the Bears. I'm just curious if he's going to be able to do it the way he envisions.
So, after the Eberflus news broke, everyone was like, all right, we got a defensive-minded guy. And like you said, he's got a great defensive philosophy. Nobody questions that. Everybody's wondering about Justin Fields in the offense, and that's what we've been wondering for our entire lives, other than a handful of years with Jay Cutler and everything when he was, a good, not great quarterback for the Bears. But Luke Getsy coming over from Green Bay to be the Bears offensive coordinator. Do you know anything about this guy? Can you tell us if he is the person to extract the most out of Justin Fields' skill set and turn him into a premier, this guy can win a Super Bowl type quarterback?
Yeah, I got to ask Eberflus yesterday, kind of after the press conference. He mentioned the innovation was the word he used with Getsy, and how do you know that?
I like that word.
Yeah, and my question was, how do you know that if he's not been the play caller as he wasn't at Mississippi State? How do you know that if he was quarterbacks coach and passing game coordinator for kind of third in line there in Green Bay? And he pointed to some of the stuff that he built into that offense, which he was able to find in terms of RPOs. Like Aaron Rodgers was running a ton of RPOs with that offense, and usually passing, but he's not running the ball. But the idea of what they're able to create RPO-wise for Justin Fields, this is going to be a run-heavy offense. Like, think about this is going to be built around Justin Fields, which Matt Nagy was not able to do. That was his biggest fault from Trubisky on to Justin Fields, was trying to fit his quarterback and his scheme around what he had. And it wasn't working.
You can't do that.
You could see it year after year, the decline. Once in 2018, midway through that season, once everybody figured out that offense and what they were trying to do, that's when it all fell apart. And Nagy was so dead set on putting his players into his own offense instead of making it work for them. I think Luke Getsy is going to be different. And I think that's an important point of why Matt Eberflus sought him out. He believes that this is the guy who can really build this kind of scheme well around Justin Fields. And Eberflus even said he's not quite sure exactly how it's going to look. They just hired this guy on Saturday. They're still not quite sure, but he loves the idea of the innovation that Getsy can bring. So we'll see. It all sounds good right now. I'm excited to see what it looks like in September, but I think they took a step in the right direction with that hire.
So when Theo came in, one big thing he did was change the scouting department around and the resources that go into roster construction. It sounds like George and Ted have been pretty hands off. It'll be whoever we hire, it'll be up to them, what type of adjustments and stuff. And I think we know historically the Bears are very weak when it comes to analytics and game, in-game strategy and stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any sense from Poles and Eberflus that they want to make drastic changes in that situation or what?
I love that you mentioned the analytics because that's something that's coming. Ryan Poles put it perfectly. I love the way he explained analytics on just a human level of your way to get home every day, whether it's a few miles or half hour, but you put it into ways, which he does because you never know. Maybe there's an accident that pops up. There's a better way to do it. He explained why wouldn't you want to have that information if you can have it? Of
course.
He's going to run this front office with an analytics-heavy approach. That's the Scott Pioli aspect from his upbringing in the Kansas City Chiefs organization. Pioli was a big analytics guy. Dorsey, not so much, but then Brett Veach kind of brought it back a little bit. He believes in that stuff, and I think it's going to be a really kind of new school approach to scouting and developing players, and it's refreshing, right? That's what you want to hear. If you hire a 36-year-old first-time GM, you want to hear some new age ideas. You don't want the same old thing that you've had year after year.
And I think after they said that Bill Polian was going to be part of the search committee and finding this GM and head coach, offensive coordinator, all of that stuff, everyone was like, God damn it. Bill Polian is an unbelievable football guy, but his time's up, And that's once I heard Bill Polian, I was like, here we go again, same song and dance that we always hear every 4 or 5 years. It's the same bullshit, but
What's the
you're
truth
starting to
on
sell me.
Polian with how he got
Yeah,
involved? Was
Can you
there-
speak on that at all?
like the way that, because our understanding, Poles comes in, he's like, hey, no more Bill Polian, I got the job now, or
Yeah, it was all Poles. Polian stepped aside. That was Poles' hire. Polian was involved some point. It's still not clear when, but it was sometime late in the season. Like he stepped in. That's when George consulted him, and they started kind of forming this plan. And 23 interviews. 13 GM interviews, 10 head coach interviews. They were busy. I tip my cap to Polian. I think he did a really good job of identifying the right candidates. I was skeptical too. Like I didn't have much faith in a guy. I know he's a Hall of Famer, but it's been out of the year 10 years out of the league. You don't know what you're getting.
No.
Like you can't be sure on that. I thought they did a really good job, especially on the executive side of finding different thinkers, not just guys who did it the way Polian did it. I admire the fact that they went out and interviewed the right guys for that. But yeah, ultimately it was Ryan Poles' decision. Now the thing that needs to be cleared up, and the thing that I learned yesterday was that. So Matt Eberflus was first requested for a second interview the Wednesday. I can't remember the exact date, but Poles came in first interview that following Friday. So the Bears already had set up Eberflus. That was their own liking. They liked Eberflus. They didn't know who the general manager was going to be. There was a chance that they could have hired Eberflus before they hired that GM. And then they brought in Poles 2 days later for that first interview. They were sold. I think they requested him the next day, which he came in to interview that Tuesday. That Monday was hired that Tuesday. So Eberflus was already set up, but they'd asked that first interview with Poles. So who's your choice? Who would you want? Give us a short list, and one of the names was Eberflus. So it helped kind of, I think, sell them on Poles, the fact that he liked Eberflus the same way they did.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
I don't know. It could go either way, I guess. I was trying to figure that out myself. There's also the dynamic, which kind of awkwardly came up in the press conference yesterday. They have the same agent in Trace Armstrong. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have Trace Armstrong as an agent. Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace did. But it was clear that their relationship developed from the athlete's first connection. That's the agency. So it's not a surprise. They seemed uncomfortable. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. And it's not an arranged marriage, but it's certainly helpful that your agent is guiding you to somebody who he thinks could benefit you. Like that kind of partnership between GM and head coach. So
sure. And how many times have you've been talking to a girl and she's like, I like Dave Matthews Band. You're like, I like Dave Matthews. They're my favorite too. Oh my God, we're a match made in heaven. It's not to say too different from the Bears and Poles having Eberflus at the top of the list. So okay, how about this? What I heard this thing in the press conference, Poles is like, we're going to be smart and we're going to be very smart and opportunistic or sensible or something in free agency, which just sounded like they were going to take, stop cutting big checks or kind of maybe close a checkbook to a certain degree. Any sense on that with does this seem like we could be in a year where they're trying to find some home runs before we go all in on building a team that can go to the playoffs?
I think they'll be conservative in free agency. I do. You hear that a lot. Every GM out there, 31 other GMs say they want to build through the draft, and free agency is a resource. And I think Ryan Pace used to say landmines in free agency. I get that. I think the Bears see themselves as kind of a year away from being a legitimate contender again. I think that's what Ryan Poles, and he still has to go grind through the tape and understand everything that's happened the last few years. But I think on the surface, he knows this roster is not ready to jump right back into contention, even if Aaron Rodgers leaves the NFC North and it seems like it's wide open. I think he wants to get his own draft picks in there. I think you're going to see in this draft a lot of trades back. Like he's going to try to stockpile those picks. Maybe trade somebody. Gets a couple picks before the draft. But I think he's going to be really active in getting his guys. And he's had a good track record of hitting on those mid and late round picks, which is what you want to see. That's how the Chiefs have sustained around Mahomes, is the ability to hit on those mid and late round picks around a guy with $503 million coming in. So I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you'll see a couple splashes in free agency, but probably nothing major. You're not going to see probably not that major overhaul of the roster where they're saying we're all in for this season. Like if you're a 36-year-old first-time general manager, you want to start building this thing out the right way.
I love this.
Now
shit.
you mentioned right there you said you wouldn't be surprised if there's trades. Is like looking at this roster, just take the 22 starting players for now. Is there anybody specifically big name, expensive guys you could see, being dealt? Someone like, I don't know, throw a Khalil Mack out there, someone like that.
I think they'll probably explore it. I think you have to, right? I mean, that's doing due diligence. Who knows? Ryan Poles probably has a high price for that one. I'm curious about David Montgomery, guys. He's entering that final year of a contract. I don't know what Ryan Poles' philosophy is with second contracts for running backs, but I wouldn't do it. As great as David Montgomery is,
I personally wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the template is probably that Nick Chubb deal, which is like a 4-year, $36.5 million deal, I believe. I think you're probably looking at, it might be 3 years actually, but something along those lines if you want to do that extension. But you got Tariq Cohen ideally coming back healthy. Khalil Herbert looks like he could be potentially your feature back. And maybe Poles has a different style of running back that he wants to bring in for Getsy and Fields. Like, I don't know. That's what I'd explore. I mean, he's a proven starting running back.
He's a great player. I think just a solid running back.
I'm not saying I would trade him that the Bears are going to, but that's something you have to explore with a guy entering the final year of that deal where, you enter that turning point of do you want to get him on that extension or do you want to let him walk into free agency? Or in this case, do you want to try to get something back? So that's a name I'd watch as well.
What's the latest on Allen Robinson?
I'm curious what happens with that one. That's a really good question because his issues were with Ryan Pace. Like he was frustrated with that front office. He really liked Matt Nagy. And I know there was the issues and obviously getting Robinson involved in Nagy's offense, but they had a good, I think, personal connection. Maybe it dissolved a little bit late in this thing, but it's a fresh start for Robinson. He's not the kind of player you saw last season. He's the guy you saw in 19 and 20 who put up 200 catches in those years. Like, you might have a chance to bring him back. He certainly is not going to be bringing in a top-tier contract after this past season. I think it's a fresh start for him and the Bears. He's going to be a free agent. I don't think they're going to tag him. So maybe he's done. Maybe he sees, okay, this chapter's over. I'm going to go proven contender, proven quarterback. We'll see where it goes. The biggest issue between Robinson and the Bears this season was the disconnect with Fields, and that dates back to July when they weren't giving Fields, or even May and June when they weren't giving Fields those first-team reps in practice and allowing him to establish that connection. That's on Matt Nagy. It's absolutely on Matt Nagy. And that's where that disconnect came from. He developed that connection with Darnell Mooney very well. Robinson had his injuries that kind of kept him off the field and kept that thing from developing like it could. But maybe it's a fresh start for the two sides. Maybe they just part ways.
Any major predictions on your end, free agency-wise, like what position they get, or I should just say like where the real additions could be?
I think when you bring in a general manager who was an offensive lineman and an assistant general manager who was an offensive lineman, you know where that priority is going. You saw the O-line last year wasn't good enough. They got to reshelf that. I think probably invest in Tevin Jenkins as that left tackle. Like I think that's got to be your guy, but beyond that, I mean, I don't look at 4 other starters. Jenkins has to slide into that, but I think every position has to be on the table for evaluation. If you want to develop Justin Fields the right way, you got to invest in that offensive line.
You got to protect him.
Yeah. And then you got to, of course, build around him with the right receivers and the right supporting cast. You're going to see speed in this offense, guys, that finally implemented. Like Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace brought in speed, but they didn't know how to use it. I think you're going to see speed really built into this offense around Fields.
So what you're saying is buy stock low on Tariq Cohen next year.
I mean, it sucks that he wasn't able to get out there, right? I mean, it's disappointing for him. Disappointing for everybody.
It's been a season and a half since he tore his ACL. I would hope he's back full strength next year.
Yeah, I think he was close. It was a really bad injury. Like, it wasn't just your run-of-the-mill ACL. So I think I'd love to see what he can mean in that offense. I think Khalil Herbert's somebody they really like as well. Like, he really flashed when he got those opportunities. Yeah. He's got some explosiveness, some downhill ability. You'd like to see that, and he could catch passes out of the backfield too. So I think they're going to really invest in the supporting cast around Fields. And when I talk about maybe they're not contending for the playoffs next season, they're building toward that, and specifically on offense. And that's as Eberflus tries to build his identity on defense.
Last question for me. Are they going to have first-round pick this year?
I don't think so. I think they'll try. I think they'll try really hard, but I don't think they have enough assets to give up to jump into that spot. I mean, you're too lean in terms of draft assets and players that you could or would get rid of. So probably
Jackson.
not.
Get rid of him. First round pick.
I mean,
which is tough. I like what you're saying because he's in a position he wants to get more draft picks. The cupboard's kind of bare this year. No first round. So Poles is in an interesting, he does have a big decision to make about do you get more draft capital or do you try and trade up and get a better draft pick? In either event, I do feel, this is how I should feel though. I feel ready to go. I feel like a meatball. Like 7 bad years with Pace. It takes one press conference, one conversation with Chris Emma, and now I'm just like, perfect. The North is ours again.
Football season's got to get here already, right? We got the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. People always ask me what I do in the offseason. I'm like, the offseason's a season of itself. Like, you start building up towards September.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, right? I mean, you'll love it. The combine's coming up in a few weeks. Free agency first week or second week of March. You build from there. Mm-hmm. Gotta love it, right?
Last question before we let you go is, I know that I already said last question, but last question for good. One word answer. Are we going to be in the same position in 5 years?
in terms of
No. You got to answer yes or no. You know exactly what I'm asking. Are we going to be sitting down asking Chris Emma in 5 years on Redline Radio, what did you think of this new press conference with the new hires? New GM?
No, they won't be.
No?
I don't want to ruin Carl's buzz. He's feeling good.
life's
I
good,
like
man.
this. I don't want to ruin this.
Life
so.
is good. Chris, thanks so much for coming in. We got to talk to you more often. I love your insight. Where can people follow your stuff?
670 The Score and 670thescore.com.
What's your Twitter?
At CM670.
Chris Emma, this is our guy. Chris, thanks so much for coming in.
Take care.
Whoosh. Good stuff from Chris Emma.
Great stuff from Chris Emma. I love Chris. Chris is one of my good friends outside of, being colleagues in the media industry.
Hey, nice guy.
That is nothing that we would have given our listenership because we're not on the inside like Chris Emma. And that's why we had him in.
Well, it's also been
And-
hectic too. I feel like there's been a lot of reports and there's just information everywhere. So it's cool to have somebody synthesize it that has been on the ground floor going through it. You know a lot of what's going on. Just to be able to talk about it. in a way.
Exactly. And Chris, one of the best resources in the city to give it that perspective. So love having Chris in. He'll be popping in and out, throughout if Bears news happens throughout the offseason, or he does cover baseball shit too, so I'm sure we'll have him in for that. But love Chris Emma, and I hate to admit it, I love Aaron Jones now.
Yeah, we actually have an interview with Aaron Jones that's going to be coming up in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Jones, the Packers running back.
Mm-hmm.
He's very good. He's dominated the Bears this year.
Yeah, he's a stud.
He's going to join us. He's going to talk to us a little bit about playing with Aaron Rodgers, whether he's coming back. You and him have a funny bet too. Aaron Jones, that's kind of weird too, interviewing the Packers guy. We're going to get to that interview. Stick around for it. But before we do,
What's on your mind, Carl?
we said last week we'd talk about Major League Baseball. You and I could probably do like 6 hours on this topic, but I would much rather see if we can keep it more, what's the word I'm looking for? Condensed? Compact?
Yeah, compact, condensed. There's a lot going on right now in the baseball world. Not a lot of good stuff going on in the baseball world, but we all should have expected this. I was expecting this. I always said they're going to miss a few weeks of spring training, but in the end, from my perspective, the players have such little leverage in these negotiations that eventually they're going to have to cave. And in the end, it's 70% of these players in the players union are making less than $1 million a year. So they're making league minimum.
Sure.
And that's it. So we're not talking about the millionaires here. These guys need to work. And of course you're going to, at face value, you're going to look at these guys and say, what the fuck you talking about? They make $550,000. I think the exact number is $565 for a first year player, which is prorated if they go up and down, blah, blah, blah. But anyways, $565. These guys aren't making as much money as you think because you got to take out agency fees. You got to take out union dues. You got to take out 60. They're in the highest tax threshold. They're not rich until they hit that second contract, and that's who the players are fighting for right now. The owners are just kind of like, fuck you guys. We like how the way things are. We don't have to change anything. You guys are what are you gonna give us if we change this or add this or take this away? It's a mess, and eventually the players are gonna have to cave.
Yeah, so the players, their leverage would be if we don't play, they have to hold out long enough, though. They'd have to hold out till August. They'd have to go on strike for a full year.
And that's not going to happen. I can promise you that's
sure,
not going to happen.
The public perception, if you go back to the 94 strike, is that the owners fucked up. You don't hear people talk about the 94 strike and people go, ooh, these fucking selfish players. It is the selfish owners, and it took forever to get there. If a strike happens, people are going to bitch at the players. It's the same thing that happened when their COVID issues were going on. They couldn't come to an agreement about it, where people are like, come on, just plug and play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's because fans are much more likely to shit on the players than they are the owners. I don't know why that is. This is something that has really been a focal point of my interest since COVID. And why do fans just let us shit all over the players? And it's the owners that are just fucking these guys like crazy.
See, I think it's been different from my perspective. At this point, like I just said, everybody's trying to say it's millionaires arguing with billionaires. In some instances, yes, that is the case. But like I said, 70% of the league is making $565,000 a year, right about there. And those players aren't millionaires yet. They're
Yeah,
not.
but that argument's not going to fly publicly in like May. Like if it's May, I know there's people saying, well, they'll be playing by then. But if it is May and they haven't fucking signed these deals yet and they're not playing, people are going to be looking at the players and be like, just sign the fucking deal, man.
Of course, because it's in the end, like the owners have made multiple proposals, just as the players are, to be fair. But in the end, it's on the players when they want to play. If they want to play 162 games and be on spring training, spring training starts in 2 weeks. If they want to start spring training on time, they could start spring training on time and have this
100%.
thing hammered out right now. So in the end, it's up to the players, but it's not so black and white. It's not cut and dry like that. Like if the players really want to go balls to the wall, and I've gotten to the point where I almost want to side with this approach to the whole CBA, is they should hold out until fucking April, May, June, July.
Oh, if I was in charge of the CBA, I'd tell the players, don't fucking come back.
But then you get back to what I've said. This is going on the third time. You can't do that when half these players are literally playing. Like, we're not talking about the Dallas Keuchels of the world who have made all their money, or, the Anthony Rizzos who have made. I know his contract wasn't crazy, but it was $40 million or whatever it was.
We're not talking about.
We're not talking
about
those
the
guys. These guys need to
70%
work. They have to work. So in the end, the players are going to cave. And in the end, I do think they'll get increased luxury tax threshold, which should I was reading about $240 million plus compared to about $212 million or whatever it is right now. Hopefully, they can get the studs paid sooner, as they were talking about.
I have we'll go through these.
Yeah.
We'll go through these one at a time.
Yeah, go through them one at a time.
So I said last week, like, I'll organize my thoughts about the lockout and then we'll come back, we'll talk this week. So I did my best to organize like the big talking points, so to say. And we're getting into like high level stuff about them. So let's get into a little bit more of the details. And the big issue is that salaries have not increased with inflation and other costs.
With the American dollar, yes.
So if you take the value of American dollar over the last 20 years and then you just compare it to like salary increases, and we say the league minimum, we're looking at what you get paid your first year, your second year, and your third year in the league. And that number has not grown at all.
Hardly, yeah.
So
Negligible.
team values are up, and
There's TV deals.
The owners have made more money. So there's just this huge issue with the players. They're like, guys, the fucking value of the dollar's gone up. You guys haven't given us more money. We want a bigger pool. So one of the big issues is, can you get to free agency sooner? So here's just an example. Major League, the owners suggested getting rid of arbitration, and instead years 3, 4, 5, and 6, they'll fucking take your wins above replacement and then put you on a sliding scale, and they will already have predetermined values for how much you're worth. And the players union instantly threw that out because there's no room for negotiation. So they're just like, here's a table, this is what you're worth. Max values, like, you want to talk about Russian communism, like, that's pretty much it.
It's fucked up, is it not? I mean, like, I don't understand how they think that can fly, personally.
Yeah,
like, how does that fly? Like, if I were an owner, and I, like, obviously I cannot speak for owners. I'm not rich like these guys. I'm not in their shoes. But if hypothetically I were, I would look at that proposal and be like, I feel embarrassed making this. But these guys are such fucking hardened cocksuckers that they have no problem saying that. No problem throwing that putting that on the table. And that's why in the end, like, it's shit like that, the players are just going to have to fucking cave and say, all right, what is it we got to do to play? It's this kind of shit, man.
The players came back and said, we would like to have arbitration right now, generally happens after your first 3 years in the league. So players came back and said, we want the arbitration process to start after the first 2 years. The teams are against arbitration because it is expensive to go through arbitration. When I say expensive, I don't just mean like the dollars.
Yes.
I mean, it takes time. You have to hire lawyers. It's just like the uncertainty of whether or not how much you're paying these guys. So the teams very much would like to make the arbitration process simpler, where the players' arbitration is like a great protection, and it allows you to get paid close to what you're, like, worth relative to other people. It's a better market to get paid than some sort of sliding scales. Owners came back, they said, no fucking way we're going to do 2 years. They were like adamant that you cannot get out of arbitration.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think of it like, from say the Tampa Bay Rays or Cincinnati Reds or a small market team, Milwaukee Brewers. Like, why in the fuck would they want arbitration after 2 years? You know?
Yeah, I mean,
They're gonna say no to that. They're gonna say, okay, we can pay this superstar like Francisco. What the fuck's the shortstop's name?
Lindor.
Not Lindor. Just name any ex-stud player on a small market team that eventually will be playing for the Dodgers or Yankees or whoever in 4 or 5 years when they get dealt to find the next stud player. Like, why would the Rays say, oh, now we got to pay this guy $2.5 million after 2 years instead of paying him $1 million? Like, they're not going to agree to that. It's just not going to happen. It is so much easier to unify 30 owners and 30 ownership groups, and it is how many? There's what's 40 times? That's 1,200 players protected by the union. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's a numbers game too. It's 1,200, 70% of which they want more money, 30% of which have already seen their money. It's like it's such a fucking shit show. And then you got like the small market teams like the Rays saying, no, we don't want to pay these guys. We can't. Our revenues don't allow us to do so. It's like it's such a fucking mess.
There's a couple other things here.
What do we got?
Bonus pool for pre-arbitration guys. So the players are like, hey, how about a bonus pool? And then the league will pay out the bonus pool based on who does really well in the pool of pre-arbitration players. So the guys on the league minimum. And so the league said, hey, that's a great idea. What do you guys think? The players came back and they said, how about $100 million for players in their first and second years to get split up? Because in the players' proposal, they're saying we're getting rid of the third year anyways. So you're going to be so just for years 1 and 2, here's $100 million. The league came back and said, what about years 1, 2, and 3? Because we're not getting rid of arbitration. 1, 2, and 3, and you guys get $10 million. So that's like the perfect example of the discrepancy between players and owners here. The players and owners can't even agree on how many years of arbitration they want. They're like on opposite ends of the room about 2 versus 3 years. And in the meantime, they're off by $90 million fucking dollars.
It might as well be $100 million. You know?
So to like it's like the owners are looking at fucking like $3.5 million for guys in years 1, 3.5 and 2, 3.5 and 3, and the players are looking for $50 million for players in years 1 and 2.
And there's going to be people listening to this that say, why not just meet in the middle? Why not make it a $50 million pool for these pre-arb players? And to which I would say, why in the fuck would the owners do that if they don't have to? Like I'm not trying to side with the owners right now. I'm always team player, especially in this exact instance. But like the owners just don't have to make any changes. They don't from their perspective.
But the owners, here's what the owners, now I should protect, or I should at least offer some support for owners. Here's what the owners are fucked on. The regional sports network model is fucked.
It's dead. It's
so
dying,
like how the Angels got $300 million, however long ago that was, like that deal will never happen again. Like you will not see. I mean, I could easily be wrong about this, but my understanding is it's absolutely not going to happen. Like
that's the way the world's shifting. Yeah.
So it's getting to like more centralized streaming. You know, the league's power. So owners know, they're like, hey, in the long run, we aren't set up as well as maybe the NBA or the NFL, and they're just not. You know, and this has been a baseball problem forever. They're not good at distributing their product, you know, like nationally with any type of cohesive message. So the owners are nervous about the regional revenue model. So some ideas are like that's why they're interested in expanding the playoffs, advertising patches on their uniforms, legalize gambling. Like maybe there's a fucking
hey, if the White Sox want to talk, you know, sports book, Barstool Sports book, like I would be open ears there.
Like here's White Sox Dave hanging out in the bullpen.
Exactly.
Like
you want to bring fans into the stadium and drive revenue? Yeah. You got a guy right here who will do it for a low sum. And
I think they might add a couple. They're saying like you could add a couple major league teams. Like you could add 2 more teams, and that'll get them like $5
Nashville and fucking.
They think they can make $5 billion off of that because it'll be like a league fee. You want to start a team, you have to pay a fee to MLB.
Okay, like a franchise.
Yes. So there's some ideas. I don't know if they do that
anyways.
But I don't think the owners, like we look at the owners like, oh, they're printing money. But I think the owners are coming at it and being like, hey, there's no fucking guarantee that 10 years from now, like we're going to be just fucking killing it.
That's one of, after reading Jeff Passan and Ken Rosenthal and all these guys' takes on this current mess of his situation. All the players are pointing to these ever growing franchise valuations. And you can have a fucking $1 billion company that doesn't make money. that doesn't have a huge revenue stream. And I don't know, say Jerry Reinsdorf, because he's the first owner that popped in my head, is like, hey, dude, you're pointing at this, $2.5 billion valuation that is $1 billion more than what it was 10 years ago, but like revenue hasn't gone up. We had a 60-game fanless season. Revenue was lost there. So that's what they're arguing, even though, like, I know Ed always likes to make fun of me for it, but like, they're not opening any books to prove this. They're just, it's, hey, you got to take our word for it. We're not going to show you, but you got to take our word for it. So it's like, all right, well, how the fuck are we supposed to take your word for it when you aren't negotiating in good faith at all? It's just a bunch of finger pointing, fucking this and that. But
well, I'll say now that I do have an idea here that can shift the power balance, and I think you're seeing it with the players. And the only reason this is a problem now is that players are better younger. Like if they still stayed on the same trajectory and it was like, oh, that guy's not good till he's 27 and 28, but like you're seeing guys like Juan Soto come up and just completely fucking dominate the league, and how many pitchers and all this stuff. And I think that pressure, you just need more of that. You just need more pressure on these teams. You need more guys that have their service time manipulated and fucked with. You just need to keep mounting this public pressure for the owners to give more. It's not going to happen overnight, but they don't have any leverage. So I said at the start of this, I was in charge of the players union. I'd be like, dude, fuck it. You're just not going to show up to work. And you guys are going to take it on the chin.
Get your fucking pickets.
Yeah, it's like Kurt Flood. Like, sorry, Kurt Flood, you played baseball at the wrong time. And I would tell these guys right now that are, as much as nobody wants to hear it, but like a good union rep, like the Max Scherzer, right? The good fucking union rep would have it explained to his league minimum guys. Like, listen, you guys are fucked this year. Tough shit.
You're not playing for
hard
yourselves
to hear
anymore.
that from a guy getting $38 million or whatever he's getting paid, but like that just is a situation where like the players have no leverage unless the players want to go all in and fucking strike for a full year, and then people would turn around on the owners. And
I can confidently say that is not going to happen as of right now, at least from what I have heard through talking to people on the inside. But that's not going to happen. If I put myself in those players' shoes, even if like half these fucking players from Latin American shit. Like, that money is a necessity, not just for them, but for other people,
Yeah, it's definitely hard to talk about the players as one type of person when you have all of these different type of backgrounds and socioeconomic interests. And
so should they do that? Should they use, this 22-year-old kid who comes from an impoverished community in Cuba or Venezuela or wherever, say, hey, man, you're shit out of luck this year, even though you really fucking need that money? Like, you might need that money to get your family stateside to escape this fucking dictator in Venezuela. That's what they're doing.
No, I know.
It's true.
I know there's issues with Venezuela. I just didn't think we'd get there.
Shit out of luck this year. And it'll be like, but you kind of being a martyr, if that's the right word in this exact situation, will make the world a better place, the baseball a better place years on down the road. You just got to suck it up this year. Stay in shape, hit the tee, get your soft toss in, do your flat ground work, whatever it is. Like if I were, like you said, a Max Scherzer or Lucas Giolito, or name any ex-player rep figurehead in the league, like, I would be preparing for strike. I would try my hardest to sell it. I just don't think you're going to get enough of that 70% to buy into that, because they need to work. They're like, I don't give a fuck about the future. I give a fuck about clinging on to dear life to this, $500,000 1-year deal, basically. Because, once you get in, like, you have to make that third year. Then you start making more money, of course. And most players aren't lucky enough to get that second contract, that free agent deal, So it's a shitty situation, and it's February 1st when we record this right now. This will drop tomorrow on the 2nd. I think, like I've said all along, I think we're going to miss a couple of weeks of spring training. I think spring training drags too much anyways, and it doesn't need to be 7 weeks. So, I'm not worried about that part. But in the end, the players are going to cave, and we are going to see a universal DH, which I think is good for the league. I think everybody can agree to that, players, owners, whatever. Increased luxury tax, we will see that. Especially the Hal Steinbrenners of the word. He wants that fucking lux tax increase because he's ready to spend money, and he doesn't want to get taxed on every dollar he spends over that threshold. So fucking up that. You got another $30 million deal in the books. Maybe a draft lottery, and if they can get these younger players paid sooner in any respect, then I think that should be chalked up as a win, considering that the owners don't have to budge an inch. Will that happen? I don't know, but that's my I guess glass half full outlook on how the next few weeks are going to be. But it's ugly and it's going to stay ugly. Through like even once they do get this CBA hashed out and hammered out, it's going to be same thing. 5 years down the road, whenever this current one will expire. So I don't know. Baseball just loves cannibalizing itself, I guess. They need to figure this out. Like everybody I've talked to says Tony Clark's like he walks into a room, he commands a presence, he's a good talker, like people respect the shit out of him, but at the end of the deal, he's a former fucking player. Why is he the head of the union, you know? Should he be? He's a fucking baseball
usually
player.
Former players,
But I know they have all the lawyers and all these fucking Harvard and MIT or whatever the fuck grads at their disposal, you know, giving him advice on how he should approach this legally. But get someone who fucking knows what they're doing in there.
yeah, he's been in there for a while. I'm not well read on his.
Now or so. I think he came in 2012.
On his, what makes him him. I think if there's one surefire way to make things better for the guys that are on minimum deals, is the draft lottery, which is my final point on all this. All of this comes down to the draft lottery for me. A draft lottery meaning you can't take out tanking to guarantee your 1 through whatever your top picks. What you get with these teams that tank, and I could use the Cubs as an example, is just like complete fucking ambivalence from the middle of July through the rest of the season about who's pitching, who are the relievers on the roster. So if you have fucking guys in AAA and you're like, well, what about this guy? He's 29. He used to play for the Phillies. He's bounced around with the Braves, who's probably a more polished option. Or you're going to call up the kid from AA who's like 23 and you're just going to get him a couple starts. And so what you do with a draft order, you take away with the draft lottery, if you take away how easy it is to tank and just like, well, I'm just going to put these guys up there I know he's going to hit 160. I know this prospect's going to hit 180. I don't give a fuck what you hit. Just get the experience and all the stuff. We're going to manipulate your service time next year so you don't come up till June anyways. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's so much of that systemically that happens in baseball where the teams are just like, yeah, we're trying to win 60 games. So all these quadruple A players, like the Cubs really didn't. I mean, like Schwindel and Wisdom and Rafael Ortega are 3 guys that will show up next year or show up this season and have full-time jobs at the start of the year because they went out as 30-year-olds and fucking grinded for the Cubs. So like the Cubs did their tank a little bit different and they didn't finish in the bottom. But like if you go look at what the Orioles did, what the type of players they put out there, they literally were trying to lose every fucking game. There wasn't any sense of like, well, maybe there's some value here. Maybe we found this 28, 29-year-old here. Like they literally were just committed to being the absolute fucking worst. So if you take a draft lottery, what you're going to do is you're going to put these teams in a position where they're like, well, we can't just fucking load up on all these bums. What happens then? All these guys we're trying to help out, guys who have 0 through 3 years of service time, are going to get a little bit more opportunity. They're going to get more looks and stuff like that. And it's maybe more fair and balanced if these guys do or don't have careers because teams won't be so readily eager or whatever. They're just so excited, like bring these dog shit players up and win 58 games so they can draft at the top of the draft. They're filling in. There's become a gap that's created between the players that you're calling up and the players you're actually relying on. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like a draft lottery so much. That was about as detailed as I'll fucking get about Major League Baseball philosophy.
This is not the fun stuff. Like I enjoy speaking about this kind of stuff, and right now it isn't necessary. But like, get the fuck over this shit and get on the field so we can start getting overly excited about that fucking 28-year-old second baseman that's pissing all over the ball in spring training that'll inevitably hit $160 this year before getting DFA'd. I want that. Yeah. I want that, That's one of the great, that like being a kid and coming up and being like, oh God, like Bobby fucking Hill. Well, that's not a good example, but like. You know what you're getting at, yeah.
Like, man, what if Knifey Perez hits 290 this year? Oh, that's dark. Do I want to go back to those days? I don't know. That's Talking Baseball with Carl and White Sox Dave. How'd we do?
I think we did pretty good. I would direct the listeners and the audience of this podcast to not freak out yet. I would like to remind you all that clickbait articles, and I'm not saying that that's coming from Passan or Heyman or those guys. They do in the end win the day. So when they say, hey, like everything's going dog shit right now between the players and the owners, take that with a grain of salt. It very well could be. That's not the impression that I have gotten. I still think they play 162 games. I think that we will get 4 or 5 weeks of spring training instead of 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever it is currently. And I think that the White Sox are gonna run a train on the AL Central. But it's not
Beautifully said.
It's not panic time quite yet.
Hey, speaking of trains,
Speaking of trains,
we've had a train run on us for 30 fucking years, Dave.
by who?
The Green Bay Packers.
We have.
There's part of me that is like, where they're like, do you guys want to talk to Aaron Jones from the Packers? Like, yes, I do. I do. Of course I want to talk to Aaron Jones from the fucking Packers. This guy, especially his last 3 games out, has just like dominated us. He's electric, undersized running back, small school, and a very cool guy.
Yeah, super chill dude. Let's just get into it.
All right.
Let's just get into it.
This is an exclusive, a Barstool exclusive with Packers running back Aaron Jones, brought to you by Carl and Dave from Redline Radio.
Whoosh.
All right, we're in the interview portion of today's show. We are joined by the enemy, Packers standout running back Aaron Jones. Aaron, welcome to the show, man.
No, appreciate it.
Yo, I got.
You don't want to become a Packer fan?
Fuck no, we don't.
Dude, I was gonna say off the top, we're the Chicago Bears guys for Barstool. So if you just want to trash talk us, let's get it out of the way, man.
Nah, it's all love over this one.
Oh, come on. You got to have some hate in your heart. You're a running back. You got to, like, imagine we're a linebacker trying to fill a hole on you, and you're like, fuck this guy. We're getting him out of here. I'm going to run him over. I'm going to run around him, something. You got to have something to say to Bears fans and fire us up a little bit.
The Bears still suck. No, I'm just kidding.
There we go. That's all you need. See, you're going to be, like, public enemy number 1 after that, even though every Bears fan on earth knows what you just said is true.
I don't know if I can top A-Rod when he said I own you.
Yeah,
I think he has
true.
that number 1 public enemy hate.
What was that like after he said that? Were you guys joking on the next week in practice?
Oh yeah, they were joking the next week in practice. Fans had made shirts and like sent them in and different things like that. So it was pretty funny. And then we were being asked about it during like interviews and stuff. And I'm like, well, it kind of, if you go look at the track record, it's kind of right.
Yeah.
Kind of right?
Yeah. Now, you personally, this was the first year where you really dominated the Bears. If you go back, look at some of your games against the Bears, this is the first year where you had both your games against the Bears. You absolutely just you found the end zone a couple times. Are the Bears that much worse, or are you that much better? What's different?
No, the Bears are definitely not that much worse. I don't know. We just know every time we play the Bears, we got to come ready to play with, no matter, like, in my time here, in my 5 years in Green Bay, no matter how good or bad they are, when you play Chicago, you better be ready to play because, that's a huge game, and they leave it all out there.
Now, you've been with Green Bay for 5 years now. I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to rank NFC North teams in terms of rivalry with Minnesota, Detroit, and the Bears. Who would you say the Packers, from your perspective, is their biggest rivalry? Because the rest of the conference or rest of the division hates the Packers.
I would say you guys are the number 1. Number 2 would be, you guys got me?
Yeah, who you said Bears number 1?
Oh, and then I said Minnesota number 2, and number 3 is Detroit.
Why number 3? Do you got something against Detroit, like the state of Michigan?
No, I don't. They just they hadn't been all that good in the past, in the previous years. But they, like I said, they come ready to play too, and I feel like in Detroit is a hard place to play as well in that stadium.
If they ever did have a consistently good team, I feel like that city would just burn to the ground. But it's been a weird. We'll get all the bullshit questions aside. Bears just hired an offensive coordinator. You happen to know that offensive coordinator a little bit. tell us all you Bears fans and Chicago needs to know about Luke Getsy. Like, is he the real deal, or are the Bears finally going to have a competent offense? What's the deal with this Luke Getsy cat?
He's definitely the real deal. I've been with him. So when I first got to Green Bay, he was here in Green Bay. He left and went to Mississippi State, and then he came back. And so I've gotten to work with him a lot. He's a true leader. He's passionate. He's a motivator as well. But he's a player's coach as well. Like he listens to what the players have to say, and there's give and take. And all the players love Getsy, and I think he's supposed to have been had a coordinator job. So I'm so happy for him. But no, Chicago got a brilliant offensive-minded coach, and he was also a quarterback coach. So I think that can help Justin Fields as well.
Is Getsy a yeller, a motivator? Is he a laid-back guy?
But if you make a mistake, he's gonna pull you to the side. Hey, this is what we need to do. And I worked a lot with him in the pass game. Every day. I mean, every day we would work on like exchanges with the quarterbacks, and he'd be right there. But we would also work on routes and stuff. And then in special teams, I worked with him and Coach Hackett, who left as well. And they just help me work on my development every day, just taking the time because they care about their players, and I feel like that helped a lot. And I think that my receiving helped us in that playoff game.
So, like, we talk about coaches leaving, some turnover and stuff with the Packers. They signed you to an extension. It's very rare for the Packers to sign a running back to a second contract. What was that conversation like about the future? Because it seems like just a little bit later now there's some question marks about the Packers' future. Did you have a sense coming in when you signed this deal that they'd be building around you again?
No, sir, I didn't. At first I didn't know if I was coming back or not. And then the day before free agency, they offered me, and I was like, yeah, they were definitely there. So they didn't talk to me in like in that extent. Hey, this is where we're looking to go. This is what we're looking to do. But they pretty much said, we love what you can do. We love what you bring to this team and what you bring to the table. And that I'm a dynamic player. So that's why they wanted to re-sign me. And it was definitely a blessing. I'm glad to be able to stay in Green Bay. I say Green Bay is the real America's team.
Okay. All right, dude. Now, what did your quarterback say when you signed the extension? Was he like, "Hey, man, I want to be here for the rest of that deal," or
he really didn't say that. He's just like, "Hey, I'm happy to have you back. You know, you're a huge part of what we do. You're a special player." And he was like, "And I'm glad you got paid."
And is he going to be the Packers quarterback terrorizing the Chicago Bears next year and for 2 games?
I hope so. I hope to see him under center. I believe in my heart he'll be there.
You believe in your heart. And
what's it like then on the field with him? Like, say you just dropped a pass to convert third down, you got to walk back to the sidelines with him. Like, is he real hard on you guys? Is he ferocious?
He definitely holds you accountable. I would say hard on you to an extent, but that's just because he expects greatness. You know, he expects you to be able to make that play, and you should expect that out of yourself too. So it's not like he's MFing you and in your face like that, but he's just like, hey, come on, I need that next time. We gotta keep this drive going, things like that. So he's not MFing you, but you can see it in his eyes, like, come on, you gotta catch that.
I got you. Now, I'm scrolling through your Wikipedia page right now, and I noticed you're listed at 5'9". How tall are you really? 5'7"?
No, 5'9".
5'6", 5'9". That's a legit. Come on, there's no such thing as a legit program height. How tall are you? I'm 5'7".
That is legit to a T. I'm like, man, in high school I used to I used to squeak 5'11" out, 5'10", 5'11". Even 5'11" and a half. So, try to for the college scouts and stuff. Try to make it look good. I went back and looked at one of my highlights, and at the start of the highlight, it says 5'11", 175, and I'm like, damn, I shrunk, or what's going on now? And then at the combine, they really crushed my heart, because when people ask, how tall are you? I'm like, I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10". Some people, some girls are like 5'10" or taller, 5'10" or taller. And so I get up there and they read your height in front out loud in front of everybody, so the scouts can hear it. 5'9"3/4, and I'm like, no way.
That's tough, dude.
That's
a humbling experience but it doesn't matter because you just take it to the house, right? That's your thing. You're like 5'9", 5'10", 5'5", like you just get the ball in your hands. Is it every play? If it's second and long and they're calling a draw just to get some yards back, like, or if it's, third and short, like, is it true every time you get the ball in your hands, you want to take it to the house?
Yes, sir. It definitely is. And third and long, like a draw, you see those tend to pick up a little bit more yardage. So for me, I'm like, if I get to the second level, pick up a little bit more yardage, then I have a chance to pop this one and take it to the house. So that is definitely my goal every time I touch the ball, take it to the house. And I yet to do it, but it's my goal when I come out. The first play of every game, or the first play. I've done it. Actually, done the second part of it. I've done it coming out of halftime. The first play, take it to the house, but I haven't done it to start the game off. So I want to do that.
And do you have do you reward yourself for big plays? Is it like, okay, well, you have a big play against, the Bears or whatever, like that weekend you buy yourself a chain or something for the next game, or like, do you have any type of reward system throughout the season you treat yourself?
No, sir. I don't have a reward system. Only thing I do is if I score, I try to keep the ball. If I accidentally, sometimes I'll flip it, like after I score and I'll forget to get it. Our equipment managers get it, so I'll just get the ball and I give them to my mom. That's like my reward, seeing her smile and happy getting those touchdown balls.
When you jump in the crowd at home, is it anybody do anything weird? Anybody say anything weird to you? Like, hey, will you marry me? Or like, I name my kid after you? Or like, what's that relationship like when you're in the stands?
I've never been able to really make out what people are saying while I'm up there. It's just a whole bunch of screaming, but like at the same time you're up there, they're pulling on you. You're like, whoa. And then, you have a certain, you don't want to be up there too long because then they got to come on and kick the field goal as well. And you're trying to get down and people are like holding on to the back of your jersey and stuff. And like one time I'm like going down, I'm like they had my pants and I'm like, my leg was almost like kind of caught. And I'm like, whoa. But normally there's somebody there to try to help us down, so that's good.
I bet you don't have the balls to pull that move at Soldier Field to Bears fans next year.
Bet.
How much? I mean, I'm fucking. I'll bet you a Portillo's hot dog.
I'm gonna go find the single Packer fan sitting right there, and Lambeau leap.
I know it. I will bet you don't do that.
Jesus, Dave, why are you doing this to us?
Like, I'm not kidding. You will not do that because you'll have that come to Jesus moment once you score next year, and you'll look into those crowds and be like, I don't think it'd be a good idea to get doused with booze and middle fingers like the bird. You won't do it. You don't got the balls.
Hey, you'll see when I hit you up, or the footage is going viral.
Perfect. And we'll touch back right back here.
Dude.
See, he's afraid because he knows you're going to do it like 4 or 5 times now. And that's obviously like, I don't want to see it happen because I don't want you to score. But in the inevitable instance that you do score probably 4 or 5 touchdowns in those 2 games next year, I'd like to see you get doused with a Miller Lite or something.
We have Eddie Jackson responsible for tackling him. Is he gotten that worse? You know that when you guys go and you play against the Bears, you're like, oh, it's not Eddie Jackson from 3 years ago. It's Eddie Jackson today. We just run all over him.
No. No, sir. If you guys are sitting in a 2 show, we're going to try to run the ball. With 2 out safeties, we're going to try to run the ball. it's one less person in the box. So let's line up and get going and get physical.
Do you even care though that, like, say I'm just using Roquan as an example because he's our best defensive player. Like, are you keyed in on certain linebackers and stuff where you're like trying to, avoid them pre-snap, or do you just not give a fuck? How's that work?
Definitely. I feel like linebackers make a huge impact, and you have linebackers who are game changers, and he's definitely one of those. And so you definitely got to be aware where they are, especially not only running the ball, but when you're protecting too, because he can get back there and get to the quarterback. But when you're running the ball, they're going to be in the right spots. They're playmakers. They know how to read, like take those simple reads and get them to where they're supposed to be. And so that's one of the things that makes them special. And then just their playmaking ability is another thing that makes them special. So I try to set them up where they think I'm going to be, and then boom, I'm going somewhere else. Just because of how good they are.
Would you rather cut to your left or cut to your right? Like, what's your most?
He's
where are
fucking
you
with
like
you
the
right
fucking? No, I'm being dead serious. Like, where are you absolutely like, no fucking way you're gonna touch me? I'm untouchable in this space.
I think cutting to the left.
Cutting to the left.
I think I'm out of there. I'm recalling the play where we played the Bengals, and I know that's tough.
Now, you're in Chicago. Is there any shit talking with you, Dean Lowry, Tyler Lancaster, any of the Northwestern guys? Like, hey, you grew up in Chicagoland, and now you're wearing this disgusting yellow and green.
No trash talk. More so, they try to. All the Big Ten guys try to trash talk their school, though.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's an easy target. That's like picking on the little runt of the litter. You can't do that.
Does that still bother you though? You went to UTEP. Does it bother you? You didn't go somewhere bigger?
No, sir. It definitely doesn't bother me. I've always kind of been an underdog, so I love to add that. That's just an added part of my story, and it fueled me and made me hungrier. But we also had a coach at the time, Sean Kugler. He's an Arizona Cardinals offensive line coach, and he told me, hey, scouts will come find you. Your film is your walking, talking resume. If you can play, you'll be playing on Sundays, and that just stood with me. So I was like, I can definitely make it from here. And I definitely would have loved to experience another school or like a Power 5 school and see the difference and experience how that was, just more of a football atmosphere. But I got to stay home and play in front of a lot of family and friends. I got to play with my twin brother, which was one of the most important things to me.
Good shit. What's that?
I was gonna say, what's going on with this Walter Payton Man of the Year award?
I'm one of the 32 finalists, and next Thursday at NFL Honors, they'll be calling out the winner or deciding the winner, and I'm just honestly honored to be nominated. That, and it's also me and my brother's foundation. I would say I call it my family's foundation, because everybody has a hand in it. My dad really was the guy who got the person who started it up and everything. Before we had any sponsors, he was, investing his own money and things like that, or I would invest my own money, and so for him, knowing that it didn't go all in vain, like it's paid off. So I hope to win it. To me, that's like MVP off the field.
For sure. What's the name of that foundation? Where can people find it? Social media, all that stuff, so we can drive people to, solicit donations and all that.
ANA All the Way is the name of the foundation. It's also on Instagram at ANA All the Way, Instagram and Twitter ANA All the Way, and this Twitter, Instagram, I'm forgetting something. Oh, ANAalltheway.org. Sorry.
Got it. So
If you end up doing a leap at Soldier Field, this guy to my right is going to put $1,000 in there next year. But we're both going to donate for the show.
you know
Thanks
what?
for
That's a
coming
deal
on.
right there. I'll pop $1,000 if you actually pull out the Lambeau leap at Soldier Field next year.
Oh, okay. It's definitely happening there.
All right.
It's definitely happening then. Aaron Jones, thanks for coming on. I would say good luck. Good luck to you, but I hope you guys go 0-16 next year.
Thank you for the good luck. Not so much for the second part. I have fun up here talking to you guys. I'm a huge fan of Barstool, so
Love that.
I'll talk to you guys anytime.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
no, appreciate it so much, Aaron. There was one thing I did want to get to.
What's that?
This is as controversial as you want to make it. The NFL announced today $1 million to funding research related to marijuana and if there's positive impacts for like brain injuries and stuff for football players. This is something historically that's been really weird with the players union because there's a lot of benefits to marijuana. Do you think it's kind of hypocritical now based on how many suspensions there have been in the past, or like what's your position, when you see this news that the NFL is going to get behind it positively?
I do feel like it is a little hypocritical, but at the same time, it's like America. America's changed with the times. Like states are legalizing it. Rules are being implemented for it. So the league is changing as well with this. So I would say kudos to them, for making that step. The NBA, the NFL, I'm not NFL, NBA, MLB. They had all addressed that before, and I know a lot of players who had been like, well, how come football isn't, or things like that. And so now for them to step up and address that. But then it also, on the other hand, you do have players like Josh Gordon or other players, who got in trouble and they had a penalty, or they had to sit some games, or lost out on money. So it's crazy to see it, but I'm glad they're changing things.
That sounds like the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Honestly, thank you very much for coming on and partaking in some of this bullshit with Dave and myself. We are gonna. I don't want you to get into the Soldier Field end zone, but like now I want you in the Soldier Field.
Yeah,
end
like
zone.
I hope it's in a 38-7 Bears win, like a little mop-up touchdown.
Hey, my first ever touchdown came against the Bears.
How long was it?
It was like 1 yard, 1 or 2 yards.
I could score a 1 or 2 yard touchdown in the NFL. I'm disgusting. I'm like,
probably some misdirection.
we got
screwed
the
up.
exact same dimensions. I'm 5'7", but 5'9" in a program, and I'm like 210. So I'm basically an NFL running back.
Basically, come on, come out here so we can get you the ball.
I'll run
He's got
right
point
over
straight to
Tyler
Chicago.
Lancaster, that 350-pound behemoth. No, I love those guys. But yeah, thanks for coming on. We'll make sure to get some eyeballs on your foundation with you and your family. And I will be driving this into the ground. We'll catch you again next year before you guys play at Soldier. How's that?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's perfect.
Okay, thanks a lot. And yeah, like I said, best of luck to you personally, but not the Packers.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Aaron.
All right, thanks, man.
Go Pack, go.
Aaron Jones, do you like him more or less? Are you okay if he scores against us? How do you?
Prior to hopping on with us, you said that I don't know if I really want to interview. I do, but I don't. One thing I hate is when I've gotten to know Anthony Rizzo on a very small personal level through Dante over the years. I hate when guys I like them. Did that make sense?
Yeah, no. Like you wanted him to come in here and be like, "What do you? Fuck you, White Sox."
Yeah, I
Dave.
wanted him to end that interview where I was like, you know what? Fuck that fucking guy. Like, fuck this guy. But he's a fucking nice, down to earth, humble, shy kid that just happens to be a really fucking good NFL running back.
Yeah, why was he calling you sir?
Exactly. How can you hate that fucking guy? I want to hate him. I want to hope all the bad things in the world on him, but I can't do it.
Are you going to donate $1,000 to ANA all the way?
I'll donate regardless. Not $1,000. I'll donate regardless, anonymously. So I'm not making it about me or anything. But if he does Lambeau leap at Soldier Field into Bears fans and just gets fucking doused in booze and gets motherfucked and all that, I will gladly give $1,000 on top of what I'm already planning on giving.
Yeah, he earns it. He deserves it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a fucking
right.
He talked about the Aaron.
I haven't talked to
Rodgers.
David Montgomery. Have I? Did I say that wrong?
Have we? I don't know.
Have
But
we?
we talked about how Aaron Rodgers, like, he can't top the I own you thing. One way to do that would be to do the Green Bay Packers signature touchdown move in Soldier Field after fucking putting the Packers up by 10 on the road in Chicago. You know?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really funny, and I will be making sure of that. Like I'll reach out to him prior to their game at Soldier Field next year and be like, hey, we got this, like, just so you know. So, but yeah, super good dude. I would like to kind of get into that. Like, I invited Dean Lowry. Dean Lowry is a Northwestern player. He's from Rockford, but grew up a Chicago fan. Huge stoolie. I've DM'd with him a bunch, like, going back to when he was at Northwestern. He's had a long career with Green Bay. I think he's in his this will be his 8th year. He's on a second contract. He's made a lot of money now. But I invited him on the show last year through DM during the Corona season. I'm like, hey, would you be interested in hopping on for like 20 minutes? And he didn't get back to me until like a month later. He's like, dude, I never fucking look at Twitter. Sorry. But yeah, next time, let me know. I would like to do that, even if it's like a Twins player or Cardinals player. Just kind of get the out-of-town player
get
perspective.
the perspective inside the division.
Exactly.
You know, it's different levels of insight. This was an insightful show. Chris Emma with all that stuff about the Bears.
This was an insightful show.
Then going
I'd say.
opposite side with Aaron Jones and a lot of baseball talk. That should be a developing story, obviously. Some big news coming. No, that was, and I'll talk to more. I'll talk to all the fucking Packers. You got a problem? You come in my house? I'll talk to you guys. We'll sort this shit out. The other thing is, I don't give it. We get smoked. It's not a rivalry. We literally just get fucking smoked by it. What do you think he gives a fuck about me? He's like, dude, you have literally never, ever, ever hurt, harmed, taken anything from me. All I do is take from you. Why the fuck would I care about you?
Yeah, he's just a good dude.
All right, go listen to the Snake Draft. Thank you to Eddie for tuning in. I'm missing something, but it doesn't matter. TasteRealChicago.com. Get those fucking spices.
Get those
Don't make me
spices,
tell you
get
twice.
some 3-Chi, and then enjoy yourself a nice Miller Lite. We got a lot of snow coming up. What a better way than to gather around the campfire and enjoy some Miller Lite.
Amen. We'll be back next week. We're going to be seeing a lot of red. Until then,
All gas,
no breaks.
DJ, play that shit.